of you here this evening. We'll begin our order of business with the approval of our minutes. Mr. Vice Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman Reed. I've reviewed the minutes of our 23rd meeting, find everything to be in order. Move they be approved as mailed.
We have a motion to approve. Have a second. Commissioner Sereno. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Our minutes have been approved. Begin with item 2, Fire and Rescue Report. Chief Farley.
For the month of January, we had 6 structure fires, 364 medical calls, 62 MVAs, 1 extrication, for a total of 660 calls. Countywide, we had a total of 790 calls. We had 9 structure fires, 8 brush fires, 8 illegal burns, 101 MVAs, 2 of those were extrications, for a total of 790 calls. The next sheet is what we turn into Ruff County building codes for structures that were damaged due to fire. We had 10 alarm installations in the month of January. Our fire investigation report, if you notice down at the bottom, we had 2 defendants to plead guilty to arson. And so far this year, we've had 2 fatalities in fires. The next sheet is our unauthorized burning, or illegal burning. And that concludes my report. I have one more item to cover.
Commissioners, any questions on the report?
Mr. Chairman, just more of a compliment. We had a structure fire out in District 6, and you guys had a very quick response time. So just wanted to recognize that and thank you, even though it was a fatality. We appreciate all the work that you guys put in, and it wasn't far more serious.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other comments? Questions? Have a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion approved. Commissioner Beverly, have a second. Second, Commissioner James. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed. Your report is approved. I believe you have a grant to present.
I've consulted with Mayor Carr, and after discussion with him, there's a SAFER grant coming out. It's 100% funded for 3 years. And it's I'm asking your permission to apply for 30 firefighters. Fully funded for 3 years, no match.
Mr. Chairman, is that the same grant that you spoke of at our commission meeting?
Yes, it is. Any discussion concerning the grant?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Sereno. Any further discussion? Madam Secretary, could you please call the roll?
Commissioner Beverly?
Yes.
Commissioner McMurray? Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Commissioner Rather?
Yes.
Commissioner Oliver?
Abstain.
Chairman Reed?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. We'll now go into the Sheriff's report.
Thanks.
Good evening. This afternoon, our inmate population was 712. If you had noticed the water bill in December, that it was higher than usual. We had a water leak down at the firing range by the road. We have requested a adjustment with the Mercer Water Company, and they're working with us. That's my report.
Questions on the report?
Move to approve.
Motion to approve. Second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? I believe you have, what, 3 budget amendments?
Yes, sir. The first one's from the jail. This budget amendment recognizes insurance revenue received related to the sheriff's office and appropriates this revenue for the supplies and materials in the jail. It's $20,193 from the laundry room insurance reimbursement and placed it into our jail and other supply materials. Let me do all of them, Chairman.
Well, no, let's do these individual.
Okay.
These are totally separate
Yes, sir.
budget amendments. Commissioners?
Move to approve.
Motion approved. Commissioner Oliver. Second. Have a second. Call the roll.
Yes, sir. Commissioner McMurray, Commissioner Sereno,
Yes.
Commissioner James. Yes. Commissioner Rather,
Yes.
Commissioner Oliver,
Aye.
Commissioner Beverly. Yes. Chairman Reed.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next budget amendment.
Yes, this amendment is to provide additional funds for overtime needed for employees covering vacant positions. Requesting take $100,000 from dispatch and radio operators and $100,000 from youth services officers and place $200,000 in the overtime budget.
How many more open positions do you have to fill?
In dispatch, we have 6 positions. They interviewed some good candidates last week, so we're going to do 3 backgrounds out of the 5 they interviewed. Got 6 openings in SROs. They're interviewing next week. They have 8 to 10 applicants. And then detention has 41 openings.
Where are we
Question.
struggling where are we struggling the most in recruitment avenues? Is it detention?
Right now, detention, and it's not just us, it's across the state. When we go to the Sheriff's Association, everybody's saying the same thing about their detention.
Commissioner Oliver?
Yes. What is this overtime covering? Is this like current overtime budget or future or?
It's the
How's that
current overtime. We're running out of money because dispatchers are working on their days off, and
This
it's
will last how long? That's what I'm just kind of curious.
hope to the end of the budget year. We hope.
Okay, gotcha. Motion to approve?
I have a question
All right.
here. Commissioner
Sorry, I had a
James?
continued question. What else are we doing to try to fill these 41 vacancies in the detention, since they are the hardest ones to fill?
We've started a recruitment division where we've got officers going to Fort Campbell, certain job fairs and so forth to advertise our jobs, websites and so forth.
Okay. Okay, motion approved. Commissioner Oliver, have a second?
Second.
Got a second here, got a second there. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Sereno,
Yes.
Commissioner James. Yes. Rather,
Yes.
Commissioner Oliver,
Aye.
Commissioner Beverly,
Yes.
Chairman Reed.
Yes,
Motion passes.
and I believe we have one more.
Yes, sir. This amendment is being requested for the 2022 Justice Assistant Grant that is allocated equally to the City of Murfreesboro and Rutherford County from the Bureau of Justice, the Byron JAG Grant. Funds from this allocation will be used to purchase 2 unmanned aircraft systems. We're asking to receive the $30,893 from the grant money and place it into our law enforcement equipment line item.
Questions? Discussion?
Mr. Chairman, how many drones do you currently have?
Roughly, I want to say 6, and that's detention and SWAT and patrol.
What's the lifespan of them, and what kind of rotation do we have them on?
I'm not for sure. on that, the lifespan. And these are fairly new, the ones we've got now. The detective has had one for 2 or 3 years.
I'm just kind of looking for a kind of a gauge of how long they'll survive through the thing before we look at needing to replace down the road. But
Yes, sir.
there's no other discussion. I move to approve.
Motion to approve. Have a second. Please call the roll.
Commissioner James,
Yes.
Commissioner Rather,
Yes.
Commissioner Oliver,
Aye.
Commissioner Beverly,
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno,
Yes.
Chairman Reed.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Got a couple of grants.
Okay.
The first grant request, we're requesting to apply for the Tennessee Highway Safety Office and Teen Grant. The Tennessee Highway Safety Grant pays for the overtime and equipment for deputies working saturation and traffic enforcement. We are requesting $125,000. The Teen Grant pays for the overtime and equipment for deputies working with teen driving education. We're requesting $20,000. We apply for these grants every year. They run from October to September. If we are awarded this grant, we're requesting for the mayor to be able to accept and sign for it.
Are these full grants?
That's 100% funding. You gonna do all the grants?
Any questions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion here to approve, and I believe we have a second right over here. All those, call the roll.
Commissioner Rather,
Yes.
Commissioner Oliver,
Aye.
Commissioner Beverly,
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno,
Yes.
Commissioner James,
Yes.
Chairman Reed.
Yes.
Motion passes.
The next grant request, we're requesting to apply for the Bureau of Justice Assistance Financial Year 23 Connect and Protect Law Enforcement Behavior Health Response Program Grant. This grant is an escalating percentage match. Years 1 and 2 will be a 20% match. Year 3 will be 40%. We're requesting $550,000. With this grant, we want to work with the Volunteer Behavioral Health to have co-responders riding with 2 of our deputies. They will assist us in responding to individuals in the community having mental health crisis to provide de-escalation assessment and resources to services. If we are awarded this grant, we're asking for the mayor to be able to sign and accept.
Discussion or question?
Mr. Chairman, with the volunteer behavioral health care members riding along, what extra insurance costs will we have with that, or liabilities?
Yes, we're going to do an MOU with them. It'll be actually their employees, and we'll pay them out of this grant. But we will have they'll be wearing plain clothes, but we're going to issue them a ballistic vest also to wear under that plain clothes.
Other questions? Motion to approve, Commissioner Oliver.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Sereno. Please call the roll.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Oliver,
Aye.
Commissioner Beverly,
Yes.
Commissioner McMurray,
Same.
Commissioner Sereno,
Yes.
Commissioner James,
Yes.
Commissioner Rather,
Yes.
Chairman Reed.
Yes.
Motion passes.
The last one, we're requesting to apply for the financial year 23 Bureau of Justice Assistance Comprehensive Opioid Stimulant and Substance Use Site-Based Program Grant. This grant is a 3-year grant, 100% funded. We're looking at the budget and our needs. We just wanted to present it to the committees, get approval. The deadline is March 21st. If awarded this grant, we'd ask for the mayor to have permission to be able to accept and sign for it.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Have a second. Please call the roll.
Can I ask a quick question, please?
May.
Is this, how is this different from the opioid board and funding there? Are these different pots of money, or are they related or not? I'm just curious.
This is a federal grant that we found that we're going to apply. It's totally separate from the opioid committee.
Thank you.
That answer your question? Okay. Call the roll.
Yes.
Commissioner McMurray,
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno,
Yes.
Commissioner James,
Yes.
Commissioner Rather,
Yes.
Commissioner Oliver,
Aye.
Chairman Reed.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Pause. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. For the month of January, we had 307 animals come into the shelter. You can see that we had a euthanasia of 3.1%. Our live release rate for our dogs was 92.2%. Our cats were 98.8%. And overall, when wildlife were included, it was a 95.9% live release rate. We had 171 animals come through the shelter for our free spay and neuter program, and 21 cats were released through our TNR program. Our officers completed out 1,112 calls for the month, traveling 8,647 miles. Fiscal year to date, our live release rate is 93.5%, euthanasia rate is 3.8%, and the officers completed out 8,942 calls, traveling almost 63,000 miles. If you'll recall, the data report goes for fiscal year, but the rabies and bite exposure goes by calendar year. So we've started over in January. We had 20 bites reported for the month. None of those were sent for testing. We had 3 other exposures. None of those were sent for testing as well. And then the last page of the report is just the graph that I show the animal outcomes, so you can see that visually as well. And that is all of my report, sir.
Commissioners, you've heard the report. Any questions, concerns, comments? Our motion to approve.
Move to approve the report.
Second.
Motion's been made to approve. We got a second? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The report has been approved. I believe you have a...
Yes, sir. Every year we seek permission to apply for the state of Tennessee's Animal Friendly Grant. This is used to pay for spay and neuter services. Typically, the max that you can apply for is $5,000. We always apply for whatever that max is. However, they've not released those documents yet. But basically, we get whatever they give us. Last year, we received, I believe it was $1,500. The year before that was $2,000. So it's somewhere in that neighborhood every year. But asking for permission to apply for that and be able to sign if it comes through. There is no county match to that. I'm sorry.
Question on the grant.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve. And we have a second. Commissioner McMurray. Call the roll.
Commissioner McMurray,
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno,
Yes.
Commissioner James,
Yes.
Commissioner Rather,
Yes.
Commissioner Oliver,
Aye.
Commissioner Beverly,
Yes.
Chairman Reed.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Mr. Chairman, if I may ask a question or two, just to kind of continue what we discussed before the meeting.
Yes, sir.
If somebody wants to, can you explain how the appointment schedule works when somebody wants to surrender an animal?
Yes, when it comes to surrender right now, those are going to a waiting list, which we are working through based on the number of animals that we have currently in the facility. But we do keep appointments time. We book We book every half hour. We keep appointments open every day for strays. That way folks can get those in the same day as well. But right now, as far as the backlog, which we've talked about previously with the number of animals that are in the shelter, bringing in owner surrenders, we're having to be very selective on those at this particular moment.
What kind of timeline backlog are you?
Well, there's some appointments that go back for several months, but we are working through those as space allows.
And then on the other subject that we discussed briefly, could you just remind everybody the procedures for removing a dangerous dog off the...
Okay. Let me go back and state too that when somebody does, I failed to mention this, when somebody does call in to surrender an animal to the pet resource desk, they are given options for how to keep that pet in that home, or options through rescues, social media sites, other things like that, to be able to try to move that animal through themselves versus bringing it to the shelter. To answer the next question, the process when it comes to, there's two types of dangerous designations. There's a potentially dangerous dog, and then there's a dangerous dog. And there's different criteria that have to be met for that. Typically for potentially dangerous, it has to be attack off the owner's property or 2 or more attacks on the owner's property. And that was something we put in, I think, around a year and a half or 2 years ago on the owner's property. So it has to be something that goes above just a normal bite case, something that folks are willing to go on record, fill out witness statement forms so that we can try to compile a case that's turned over to the county attorney. When it comes to a dangerous dog, typically that's going to be something, an animal may have severely attacked someone or killed an animal, something like that. Those cases are fewer and farther between, but it's still the same process for both. Gathering information, gathering the evidence, getting folks that are willing to put on record what occurred, seeing what all occurred, and then turning that over to the county attorney's office for it to go, for them to file a case. That goes to General Sessions Civil Court, because that is part of Rutherford County's ordinance, not a state law. Once that process has gone through, if the judge deems those dogs either dangerous or potentially dangerous, we open up calls we follow up with those folks monthly to make sure that they're meeting all the requirements for each of those designations.
Okay, and then in order to get that dog off the list, they have to take it back to the court.
The owner would have to petition the court back to have that designation removed. For a potentially dangerous dog, they come off on 18 months automatically, as long as they've met all the restrictions. For a dangerous dog, that follows that dog for life.
And where in your report can I find the dangerous dogs? What category are they put in with the others?
That's just going to fall under the statistics that I give out by jurisdictions that show the number of calls that we did. We don't break down the calls in the report as far as each individual call. I can pull an activity stat by call type, but that call type is only going to show how many calls we ran specific to an investigate PDD/DD. There is no way for me to break that down by how many individual cases that number added up to. For instance, if we ran a potentially dangerous dog case today, that would count as one call, but that call would remain open. So let's say we get out there and there's some requirement that they're not following and we have to reset it for tomorrow or for the next day to go back out there. That would still count as an activity and a call that we ran, but it's still open under that one call. So there's no way for me to break it down and go, we have X number of cases. I can tell you that we ran X number of calls pertaining to that type, but not how many individual cases that would be. Does that make any sense?
Yes, that gives me the details I need to kind of know what direction I need to go.
Sir. Okay. On those cases, for the particular circumstance that I know that you're speaking of, the county, and I think it comes out of the mayor's budget if I recall, for the legal fees to file all those cases through the county attorney's office. So the county foots all of that. Once that dog is deemed dangerous or potentially dangerous and the person wanted to go back before the judge and have that designation removed, that's going to be up to them to do that. We're not going to be footing the bill for that. Yes, sir. All right, thank you all.
Thank you, sir. OSHA? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening. So for the month of January 2023, incident frequency, we had a total of 26. And again, for the calendar year, it'll be 26 also. Total recordable, 16. Lost day claims, 1. Restricted day claims, 12. And other recordables, there would be 3. Next page on the job.
Excuse me, Director. Were we supposed to have your report? Because we don't have it, unless I'm overlooking it. Were we supposed to have the OSHA report?
It never was sent?
I didn't see anything on.
Oh, I'm sorry. I will have that to you tomorrow morning. So for the 2023, we had 26 again year-to-date claims total. On the job incurred dollars was $104,000. And cause of injuries, we had 16 Board of Education, 10 County General, and from the County General, 4 with the Sheriff, 1 with EMS, 3 with Fire and Rescue, 2 with Solid Waste, for a total of 10. And again, I apologize for not getting that report to you. But if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them for you.
Any questions on the report?
Move to approve, Chairman.
Motion to approve, Commissioner Rather.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Sereno. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Report is approved.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Recovery Court. I believe you have a grant tonight, too.
I do. This is Liz, she's the reentry coordinator. Our report for January, we have 153 current participants. 8 were new, 6 graduated, and 4 were terminated from our program. Is there any questions?
Questions on the reports? Anything you have on the on Recovery Court?
Question. You say you had 164 participants? 8 new.
153. So as of today, we have 153.
Okay, that's why I was seeing the 2 numbers. I was curious. All right, thank you.
Other questions?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve, Commissioner Beverly.
Second.
Second, Commissioner McMurray. All those in favor of the report, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Report is approved. I believe you have a grant.
We do. We are requesting permission to apply for the BJA fiscal year 2023 Adult Treatment Court discretionary grant. It is up to $1 million over 4 years. There is a 25% match, and it is due April the 11th. The purpose of this grant is to reduce the misuse of opioids, stimulants, and other substances by people involved in the criminal justice system. One of the ways we would like to use this grant is to create an MAT service within our program. Most people now have to find services within the community, and we would like to be able to pay to bring a provider in to provide those services to our clients.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
is the 25% match off the total of 1 million, or is it off of only what percentage they give to us of that?
It's off of whatever percentage that they grant us.
Just want to say that out loud, make sure it's
Yes.
not.
Other questions?
Make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve, Commissioner McMurray. Have a second.
Second.
Have the second. Call the roll.
Commissioner Sereno,
Yes.
Commissioner James,
Yes.
Commissioner Rather,
Yes.
Commissioner Oliver,
Aye.
Commissioner Beverly,
Yes.
Commissioner McMurray,
Yes.
Chairman Reed.
Yes.
Motion passes.
We also have one other request that was not sent in. On behalf of the recovery courts, we are requesting permission to reclassify the peer support specialist position. We currently have it as 2 part-time positions, and we would like to make it 1 full-time position. Our reentry program has received a grant that will cover 25% of that salary, and the remaining 75% will be covered by the 2 peer support positions that are already funded through our recovery courts.
We already received the $25,000 grant.
The 25% that will cover the cost.
Are you saying peer support?
Yes.
Essentially, it's a budget neutral decision, just moving it from part-time to full-time, correct?
Yes.
Because you're eliminating peer support, the
No,
2 part-time,
We're eliminating the 2 part-time and making it 1 full-time.
full-time.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, does that mean somebody's going to lose their job?
No, we currently don't have anybody in that position right now, and it has historically not worked well to have the 2 part-time positions or not needed. So if we can get 1 full-time, we feel as though that would be a better position for people to maybe want to stay.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve, Commissioner Beverly. Have a second, Commissioner Rather. Call the roll.
Commissioner James? Yes. Commissioner Rather?
Yes.
Commissioner Oliver?
Aye.
Commissioner Beverly?
Yes.
Commissioner McMurray?
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Chairman Reed.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Probation? Mayor, we must be getting close to spring. We're getting a lot of grants tonight.
Good evening. For the month of January, we closed out 129 cases, which is equivalent to 117 people. There were a couple of things that I added to our report this month. You'll find an asterisk out beside the new item. I will remove that next month. We did add abated by death as one of our closure reasons so that this committee could understand the difference. Previous to that, we had those under closed modified. If that individual passed away, we would request the judge modify their probation, and we would close them out that way. I think it's important to separate those from the closed modified to keep those, the difference in those understood. For our programs for the month of January, we had 66 participants for the month of January in our programs. We did not hold a December class for DUI school in the month of January. We typically hold that class 10 months out of the year. We had 24 individuals successfully complete those programs, and then we had 5 individuals that were discharged unsuccessfully from those programs. With our Olive Branch program, we were able to assist 16 individuals, 12 of which those were homeless, and 4 of those had been recently released or fallen on a hardship. The next section is the most exciting section that I've added. That's our 10 Rocks program. That's our Tennessee Recovery-Oriented Compliance Strategy. That's our new court that we started in September. So that program has grown. I'll be happy to alter that report portion for whatever this committee would like to know. But we currently have 17 active participants in that court. Right now we have 6 referrals that have a pending court date. Those individuals have already been assessed. They're just waiting for the violation of probation court date in order to enter the program. And we may find that some of those individuals that have already been assessed may actually go to court and decide that that's a program that they don't want to enter. So I was going to report those numbers as well. And then once it comes down to the end of the program, whether those individuals successfully completed the 10 Rocks program or unsuccessfully completed that program. So I'll be happy. I'm open to any suggestions of things that this committee would like me to report. It will take a while before we get those that have successfully completed the program, depending on when they entered and what term of probation that individual has, too. As far as our financials go for the month of January, with our expenditures and our revenue difference, that equaled up to be $111,305.51. The total number of probation fees that were turned over to the clerk's office to be collected on payment agreements equaled out to be $7,827.50. Those that failed to enter payment agreements with the clerk's office, they had a balance of $4,507 that was owed to Rutherford County for probation fees. So far this fiscal year, we've turned over $66,364.50 to the clerk's office to be collected on probation fees through their payment agreements. And so far this fiscal year, $45,613.50 was owed in probation fees, and those individuals did not return to the clerk's office to enter a payment agreement for those fees to be collected. And as of today, or when this report was ran, we had 10 individuals that had been deemed indigent by the court. And that would be my report.
All right, any questions, comments?
Question. Can you explain to me a little bit more about the 10 Rocks program?
So the 10 Rocks program is a specialty court where those individuals may not have qualified for recovery court, but they have to meet certain qualifications in order to qualify for the program. For example, they have to be on probation with us, which is beneficial. So that allows those individuals, if they have a violation for a substance abuse disorder, so in other words, they have to have a violation of probation for a positive drug screen, or maybe failure to submit to drug screens or new charges that are substance abuse related. In order to qualify, once they qualify, they apply through a referral program, either through their attorney or through our office. From there, they're assessed through the mental health court or co-op. They're our liaison, and then we discuss it as a treatment team. Judge Bennett presides over that court. Once they officially are assessed, they're given a recommendation of what they're going to comply with, depending on what the results of that assessment were. So we're seeing an assessment recommendation for as small as like an IOP program, or as intense as an intensive inpatient program. So once those individuals agree to that program, they're then furloughed in lieu of them being incarcerated, and then they're supervised in that court by our office. Right now I have one case manager. I've dwindled down her regular caseload because it is a more intensive program. They need more attention. We have some that report daily, depending on where they're at in their recovery. And so they just need a little bit more extra attention. And then once they comply with that program and they're successful in that program, the end result would be that the court would dismiss their case without them ever having to go to jail. So, and if we think back when I first originally brought it before this committee, we had gone to Granger County in front of Judge Sloan, where it originally started in 2013. And that program has grown. That's what I would like to see, that eventually this program grows where I have to request a new case manager for that specialty court, because this is a opportunity that we have never had, that we have, you know, something that's special just for probation. And those individuals are only able to qualify if they're on probation. And recently, we were added to the kiosk. So down at the Sheriff's Department, they've been a big help. And they can, you know, directly apply from the Sheriff's Department. So that way we can go ahead and have those individuals assessed and know an answer for them in a quicker manner versus waiting for a court date. Because most of our individuals are ROR'd out anyway. meaning they don't have to pay bond, they just go in and get a court date. But then there are some higher risk individuals that maybe the judge put in a hold without, so they are at the jail. That way they can go ahead and apply for it, and we can have them assessed, and then just kind of streamline that process where they're not just sitting there waiting for treatment.
Thank you for that. When you said Granger County, it rang a bell for me. That's the one you went to observe and
Yes, ma'am.
wanted to bring to, I understand now. Thank you for reminding me of that. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
Other questions?
Make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve. And a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed?
Thank you.
Report is approved. Thank you. Correctional Work Center report.
Evening. We'll start my report tonight with our February Work Center Board meeting. One thing to note in that is under other business, the last paragraph where we talk about the resolution. And I think with talking to Rachel, I think we finalized that draft. Just to give you a brief explanation as to why we're doing this resolution. We're applying for accreditation through the Tennessee Corrections Institute, and pursuant to the Tennessee Corrections Institute standard for Tier 1 accreditation application, the applicant and county legislative body must establish a county corrections partnership committee or criminal justice coordinating committee by local resolution that addresses local facility programmatic needs, construction needs, overcrowding, recidivism rates, inmate needs, criminal justice system challenges, and other needs specifically related to the overall improvement of resources available for local correctional facilities. The committee includes stakeholders from our local criminal justice system, local elected or appointed officials, and representatives from the community who have expertise in one or more of these topics. Our committee meets already quarterly, which is what they're requesting, and our long existing work center or workhouse board meets and exceeds the qualifications, strategies, benefits, and duties of the TCI, or Tennessee Corrections Institute, CCP standards. So I don't know if that is on your... It is, that resolution. And I guess we can get to that maybe after the report. So
and come back around.
that's just to give you a kind of a preview of what's to come in the next few minutes, and that's kind of last minute. I'm sorry, Rachel. But the attorney, you and the attorney worked that out in the last second, I believe. So next you would see our CQI stats. That's our medical stats. Again, I point out the big things that you need to notice on that are emergency room transports, obviously deaths, injuries. Those are the things that really are cost money inside correctional facilities. All of ours are zero or low in that case. Next would be our work release program statistics. That program is still doing really well. I was telling some people at the residency I was at last week that we've had people that have left incarceration with $80,000 in the bank because of that, and they were just absolutely shocked. But that's some of the things that we're doing over there. Yearly activity report, our population's staying about the same. Going up just a little bit, as you heard, the sheriff's office is around 700 or so now, which obviously makes ours go up a little bit more too. January trash collection report, county roads, county trash collected 10,594 pounds, and state routes 777 bags were collected. Our monthly worker report is next, and that shows the savings, total combined savings of $80,416 using inmate labor throughout the county and using them in the different municipalities in Rutherford County. Next, you'll see our state litter pickup for September, October, November, December, and January. That is our contract with the state of Tennessee to pick up those local state highways, and you'll see that the money for each of them goes back into the county general fund. I think Commissioner Rather brought up last month about the warden exchange program that we're been asked to be a part of. I spent last week in Austin, Texas in my first residency for that warden exchange program. It's probably one of the most intense leadership classes that I've been through in 30 years of doing this. Just to give you an idea, out of the 33 participants that were asked to be part of this program, we, Rutherford County, are the only local correctional facility. Most are max or supermax prisons that have been, the wardens have been asked to be part of this, and we are the only representative from the state of Tennessee. Most are Texas, New Mexico, Michigan, Idaho. I mean, we even had a guy in there from England. But we're the only Tennessean there. Something was mentioned during that last week of training. I wanted to kind of share it with you. Hope you can gain a little bit of inspiration like I did. The subject was on transformational leadership, and this was the quote: "You are not chosen, or in some of your cases elected, as a leader based on your accomplishments, but instead by your potential to create change in your community." And I thought that really hit home as a leader, and I just wanted to share that, and hopefully you can find some inspiration in that also. And that is my report.
Questions on the report?
More of a comment, Mr. Chairman. We're very proud of you and your team.
Thank you.
For the work you're putting in, but also the example you're leading. To be recognized on a national level like that and to have your input sought out, that's something to be very proud of.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Motion to accept the report.
Second.
A motion to approve the report and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The report has been approved. I believe you want to go with a resolution.
Well, it's been a while since I've read one of these resolutions, so hopefully I get the whereas and the resolves where they're supposed to be. Whereas the Rutherford County Correctional Work Center, RCCWC, is applying for Tier 1 accreditation status through the Tennessee Corrections Institute, or TCI. And whereas said Tier 1 accreditation holds local correctional facilities to a higher standard and provides additional funding for housing state sentence offenders, and whereas pursuant to the TCI standards for Tier 1 accreditation, the county legislative body must establish a county corrections partnership committee by local resolution that addresses local facility programmatic needs, construction needs, overcrowding, recidivism rates, inmate needs, criminal justice system challenges, and others specifically related to the overall improvement of resources available for local correctional facilities. And whereas the RCCWC board, which is already established, believes that it meets the qualifications, strategies, benefits, and duties of such county corrections partnership committee, and whereas as recommended by the RCCWC Board, the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners desires to acknowledge said RCCWC Board as the County Corrections Partnership Committee. for purposes of the RCCWC's application for Tier 1 accreditation. Now therefore it be resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners that it hereby designates the RCCWC Board for purposes of the RCCWC's application for Tier 1 accreditation as the County Corrections Partnership Committee per the Tennessee Corrections Institute's Tier 1 accreditation standards. Resolved the 16th day of March, 2023.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. You are making the motion to send this for the full commission? Is that what your motion is? Yes. Okay. Further discussion? Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman Reed. Other county correctional facilities are involved in this process. Other county jails are involved in this process. Others. Are we the only one?
No, sir, we are not.
Others
we
are
one of many, well, all that have been afforded the opportunity to apply for accreditation. If you remember, we were accredited to the Tennessee or the National Association, American Association of Corrections back years ago. COVID affected our budget and our not necessarily our standards, but that's something that we chose not to seek further accreditation for. The difference between this accreditation and ACA, or American Correctional Association, is we paid for that American Correctional Association accreditation, if you'll remember. The accreditation process through the Tennessee Corrections Institute will actually benefit us. It doesn't cost the county any additional funds, but we will go from, I think it's $38 or $39 reimbursed per state inmate to $41. But to answer, that's a long answer to yes, every county corrections facility is afforded the same opportunity to go up for this accreditation. We will be one of the first, though, I can tell you that.
Third paragraph deals with addressing problematic needs, construction needs, overcrowding, those type of things. Is this committing the county to financially address those?
They already do with our Work Center Board. These are all things that the Work Center Board already does.
I'm not saying we don't address them. I'm saying we don't have to build a new jail. We don't have to do that. Is this thing requiring us to financially address those needs?
If needed, but you're going to have to do that anyway if needed.
I kind of disagree with you there. Nobody can make us build a jail. They can do certain things to us, but they can't make us. That's what I'm asking.
It's not requiring anyone to build any jails.
Okay, I'm just kind of throwing some things out there. I just want to make sure that being part of this organization isn't subjecting the county to higher standards that might require us to commit some finances to other things as we grow. I know the county has done that and will probably continue to do that, but we make those decisions now and nobody else makes those decisions for us.
We have been governed through the Tennessee Corrections Institute for many, many years. All this is an accreditation that holds us to that higher standard. It's up to you all if we want to do it.
I think it's a good thing. I really do.
Every time that we are inspected and every time that we are evaluated yearly, it's through the Tennessee Corrections Institute. This is the same entity that we deal with yearly anyway. But
bottom line, school board comes to us and says, we need new schools, we're overcrowded. We say yes or no. Is this the same thing? Exact same thing?
It is the same. You all will still have the say. The Tennessee Corrections Institute, even though they either certify you in a working standard or not, ultimately that's up to you all. When I say, they can tell you to build a jail, that doesn't mean you're going to have to do it.
Mr. Cope, that is my question. It's up to us, correct?
It always has been, sir.
Nobody else can make us do it. Very
Nobody's
good.
going to make you do anything.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Basically, this resolution is just to rename the Work Center Board to this County Corrections Partnership in order to make application for this different
Yes, ma'am. By
accrediting
name
body,
only.
correct?
Yes, ma'am.
That's it. All right,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you.
In worst case scenario, if somebody wants us to do something that we're not going to do, we just lose the accreditation and $2 an inmate.
That's all you have to do. We run the best jail in the state of Tennessee as it is. With that, take whatever you want.
I'm sorry, Mr. You'll update us if something comes up and there's a contingency. You'll tell us what will happen if we go with option A, option B in regard to this. So really, it's just the
Absolutely.
standard. Okay.
Other discussion? Call roll call.
Commissioner James,
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno,
Yes.
Commissioner McMurray,
Yes.
Commissioner Beverly,
Yes.
Commissioner Rather,
Yes.
Commissioner Oliver,
Aye.
Chairman Reed.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Juvenile Detention Report. Good evening.
Good evening. Before you have the reports that you have come to expect for the month of January. We'll happily answer any questions about the yearly activity, followed up by our rap sheet, our STD stats, all of our facility programming for the month of January. And then I have included our board meeting minutes. And then, once again, the Cheatham County contract, which did go through our board and was sent here with full approval. And I will answer any questions that you may have.
Questions on the report?
Move to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Motion made to approve.
Second.
Second. All in favor of the report, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Report is approved, and I believe you have a contract.
Yes, it is for Cheatham County. We talked about this a little bit last month. I had mentioned that I failed to remember to take it in front of the board. I did so. They are sending it back to Public Safety to go through our usual committee process that I'm used to. And again, it is the same contract for the other counties as well. It is $175 per day per child. And just the fact that a county has a contract does not mean that we are required to accept anybody that they want us to. That's still our decision to make. And we base that on whether it's a good fit for our facility or not.
Question. Now, these requests come because of overcrowding. Is that why? Like, why Cheatham County would request that you house someone for them?
No, ma'am. Not every county in the state of Tennessee has a juvenile detention center. So some counties need an option, and you don't just have to contract with a singular facility. You can contract with all of them so that you may have options. So this particular county does not have a juvenile detention center, and they're wanting options for when they do have young people that need a place to go.
Other questions on the contract? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion to
Second.
approve and a second. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Beverly,
Yes.
Commissioner McMurray,
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno,
Yes.
Commissioner James,
Yes.
Commissioner Rather,
Yes.
Commissioner Oliver,
Aye.
Chairman Reed.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Emergency Service, Public Safety Report.
Chairman, Mayor, Committee, I feel a little left out. I don't have any grants to apply for.
We
And
can
the
breathe a
report
little
should
bit.
be on your iPad, and that's about all I have. I'll entertain any questions.
Director, I appreciate all the reports telling me about the weather lately. It's kept you busy.
Yeah, we're going to have some more this week.
Commissioners, you have a copy of the report. Questions for the director? Director, I know you've been keeping abreast on the Rockville and Kittrell buildings. Where are we?
Well, I think Rockville, they're talking about mid-March that we would be able to receive our generator that would complete that project. Kittrell is moving right along and making progress every day. That construction site seems to be progressing well. We're excited, hopefully, to be able to move on to the other stations and make a forward progress. We're very pleased with the projects, and I'll just be honest, I'm kind of excited to see this forward progress.
Good.
It is.
Questions on the report?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve, Commissioner Beverly.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Sereno. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Thank you, sir. EMS, Emergency Medical Service.
Good evening. I thought that was going to be the shortest Chris had ever been up here, but didn't turn out that way completely. For January, we made a total of 3,187 calls, response time of 7.5, 173 DOAs for the month, 25 went for autopsies. Collections was 805,498. The next page is some in-service and training and some community events that we did, and Honor Guard event was one of our dispatchers, retired dispatchers passed away, and Honor Guard did a fantastic job at that funeral. On the convalescent side, they did a total of 450 calls. Collections was 108,725. Next few pages are some thank you notes that we received throughout the month, and that's my report.
Questions on the report? Motion to approve, Commissioner Rather.
Second.
Commissioner Oliver, second. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? It has been approved.
And so the next thing, I guess that is, you got something else?
Oh. Got some other
Well,
business.
I had a, and I don't know, did it make it on the?
Yeah, you got a pay grade on here.
Yeah, okay. So we have two classifications of paramedics, a paramedic 1 and a paramedic 2, and we have so many paramedic 2 positions, but we had more people to complete those requirements than we had positions. So I'm asking to reclassify 2 of the paramedic 1 positions to paramedic 2 positions. It goes from a pay grade 29 to a 31. It will increase about $2,000 annually for each, and we do have those funds within our line item.
Motion to approve.
A motion to
Second.
approve. We have a second. Commissioner McMurray. Further discussion? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Oliver,
Aye.
Commissioner Rather,
Yes.
Commissioner James,
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno,
Yes.
Commissioner McMurray,
Yes.
Commissioner Beverly, Chairman Reed.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Other business, and I have written down here, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With your permission, I would like to ask if you could call Denise Martin forward and Mr. Gaither. We want to explain the other business, and for that, I guess we'll have to go out of session.
Okay. I'd like a motion for us to go out of session to allow these individuals to come forward.
So moved.
Motion to move. Second. On
Thank
favor,
you.
say aye.
If I could, let me explain. So for several months, there's been an opportunity for Rutherford County to solicit funds from the governor's office and the Tennessee General Assembly for a regional forensics facility. Currently in the state of Tennessee, there are 5 regional forensic facilities, one in Memphis, one in Nashville, Chattanooga, Knoxville, and the Tri-Cities. As you can tell, 3 of the 5 forensic centers are in the eastern third of the state, and so we have one facility in Shelby County or Memphis, and then the 5th facility is in Nashville-Davidson County. The Nashville-Davidson County facility, and I'm going to get Ms. Martin to explain this a little bit better because her research in this has been impressive, and both impressive and exhaustive. But the Nashville facility currently handles about 52 or 53 of the 95 counties. And that has created some challenges for Rutherford County significantly. We average about 350 to 360 autopsies a year. Typically, for every 1,000 people in population, the average is 1 autopsy. So obviously, with our growing community, the number of autopsies we're required to do is only going to grow. Because of that, the service that we're getting at in Nashville, it's a very, very competitive environment. They're constrained in their current facilities because of the footprint they have, and they can't grow that footprint. And so it's a competitive environment with Rutherford County and the 52, 53 other counties that are competing for those services. All this was made manifestly clear, and Denise, again, will take us through that, but was made manifestly clear with just how fragile the system is with COVID. I mean, it was just, we were literally on a knife's edge, and it's only because the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, was inaccurate in their projections about the number of deaths that we literally avoided a catastrophe. So COVID highlighted a serious stress point in our healthcare solutions and provision with regard to how we treat not just fatalities, but fatalities on a massive scale. And so there's an opportunity, it's called the Financial Services and Accounting Group, and that is a group set up by Governor Lee, where they received a certain amount of federal grant money, a rather large amount of federal grant money, and back in 2020, 2021, it's like $3.7 billion. And so they have used it. They've got a lot of ways that they can use this money, but they're currently down to about $57 million. And they are now receiving grant proposals from various counties to either update or expand their existing regional forensic facilities. They've already received and allocated or awarded 2 grants, one to Hamilton County to expand and upgrade their current antiquated facility, and they've received and awarded another grant to Knox County to expand their existing facility. I've been in touch with Governor Lee's senior staff. Ms. Martin and I had a meeting last week with the Commissioner of Health, Commissioner Alfredo. I've got a meeting in March with Commissioner of Finance, Jim Bryson, and we have tentatively a scheduled presentation for March 22nd. I say tentatively because there are some things that we got to do first. What Ms. Martin, and she's going to go through this, but what we're asking this committee to do, and I'll get Michael to go through the numbers and do the wording appropriately, but what we want to do is we want to establish a regional forensic facility in Rutherford County. We have the land picked out. It would be in Smyrna, up off of Weekly Road. The county currently has 17 acres up there, and so the footprint is quite honestly perfect. Moreover, and more importantly, the location of the Weekly Lane facility is within a mile, as the crow flies, from the Smyrna Airport, which is extremely important if we're going to be proactive with regard to a mass casualty event, because our location or proximity to the Smyrna Airport is very, very important in that regard. Moreover, we also have an opportunity to partner with the MTSU Meharry facility for potential training services down the road. And so I think this is a very unique and strategic opportunity for Rutherford County. And so, Ms. Martin, with that and with the permission of the chairman, I'll let you kind of go through what it is we're talking about and what the justification is. Thank you.
Okay. If you'd like to start, let me have those, and we'll get those out.
I'll take care of that. Thank you.
So good evening. Yes, my name is Denise Martin. For those who don't know me, haven't had the opportunity to meet you all yet. I am the Operations Support Supervisor with EMS for death investigations, so directly work with the Medical Examiners Division. So my hope tonight is to provide you a continued overview of what, and continue on from what the Mayor has just talked about. I greatly respect the amount of time that you've already spent tonight, and I will try to be as succinct as I possibly can. I have a lot of information to cover, so I do have some printed notes. If you would like to receive those afterwards, I'll be happy to distribute those too. To give you a sort of a current state of affairs with the Rutherford County Medical Examiner's Office, the personnel who perform administrative and investigative support services to our county ME, Dr. Lorraine McDonald, include myself as a supervisor, 2 grant-funded medical legal death investigators, and the EMS shift supervisors. The federal government, through a BGA grant, recognized our county's need not only for a dedicated space to work and train, but also a secure and appropriate area for performance of external examinations and toxicology specimen procurement for those cases that did not reach the threshold for autopsy. So we now have a small, and I say small, it's 684 square foot exam room to fulfill this need. The federal government also, through another BGA grant, additionally recognized our need as a Tennessee Department of Health designated high-impact area as relates to substance abuse fatalities, that we needed full-time death investigators to focus on these drug-related death scenes and establish an opioid fatality review. So thereby we were able to hire 2 full-time medical examiner investigators to our team. So while we appreciate the federal government validations of needed improvements to our county's medical legal death investigation system, we know that these were only the initial steps for what this county truly needs: its own forensic center and establishment of a separate medical examiner department. Because the majority of the work for the medical examiner coverage is still performed by our EMS shift supervisors. Our EMS crews perform approximately 3,300 runs per month. our medical examiner investigators, to include those EMS supervisors, are performing approximately 700 death investigations per month. This means that our EMS supervisors are performing what should be really a full-time death investigation job during the hours of 4 p.m. to 6 a.m., 7 days a week. This is being performed at the same time as they are performing the invaluable EMS duties and shift supervision that is required of them. Our county morgue is still graciously being provided by St. Thomas Rutherford Hospital. Our forensic services are being performed out of county at a facility managed for a for-profit company, and as the Mayor explained, is incredibly busy. This facility performs autopsy service for approximately 52 other counties outside of Davidson County. So autopsy fees have also recently increased 2 times within an 11-month period. Rutherford County, like all the counties served at this facility, are constantly jockeying for daily case priority. As with all of the 5 Tennessee Regional Forensic Centers, the Middle Tennessee Regional Forensic Center is home to the county in which it's located. So this means that they are the medical examiner for Metro Nashville-Davidson County, an incredibly busy county itself. And unfortunately, it's a well-known fact that the more cases examined on a daily basis, the higher the potential risk is for mistakes. Death autopsy statistics. The total number of deaths pronounced in our county has continued to significantly increase, but this is in line with the continued population increases. The number of autopsies have increased annually in a very similar but expected fashion. Of note are the years 2020 and 2021, the height of the recent COVID pandemic. The excess deaths are not solely directly due to COVID. State and national research has determined that many of these excess deaths are due to an unanticipated side effect and unanticipated victims of a pandemic. And this was a devastating impact on those experiencing mental health conditions and/or substance abuse disorders. Here in Rutherford County, we noted a 33% increase in substance abuse drug-related deaths from 2019 to 2020, and similar has been seen across the state and nation. So please keep in mind that while COVID and other infectious diseases are tracked by the medical examiner's office, these cases do not routinely require autopsy performance, but drug and suicide deaths do. A similar trend has also been noted with the number of suicides during this pandemic period. Devastatingly, these trends have continued through 2021, and goes to explain why our autopsy numbers increased in tandem with the total number of deaths for those particular years at the height of the pandemic, but it was well beyond the anticipated increase associated with the continued population increases. We truly did dodge a bullet with the pandemic. We fortunately did not see the full surge in deaths which were predicted by the CDC. We prepared ourselves as well as we could with the resources we had at hand. But we did on numerous occasions support St. Thomas Rutherford with storage of decedents' remains during this period. However, we've got to keep in mind that this pandemic was a slow-moving mass fatality event. If we were to have an immediate need to respond to a mass fatality incident, such as a commercial plane crash, bus crash, a devastating event at one of our factories, or God forbid, a mass shooting incident, we are not so prepared. We do not have permanent surge capacity storage that could cope with a mass fatality. The Nashville facility does not have space to assist, and that has been evidenced by the continued and current use of the TEMA-provided refrigerated trailers that were originally and only intended for use during the pandemic. Sadly, these trailers are currently being used to store excess bodies associated with their high regular daily caseload. And this includes bodies of our loved ones, of our Rutherford County residents. Davidson County, our autopsy vendor, would not be able to cope with the mass fatality in its own jurisdiction currently, let alone one in one of the outside counties of service. Also of note, at the start of the pandemic, the Middle Tennessee Forensic Center required us to hold cases, store the decedent's remains until we could perform a PCR COVID test, which was taken about 3 days on average back then. And then we had to show proof of this negative result before they would accept our cases. Rutherford, like the majority of Tennessee counties without a separate county morgue or facility, experienced significant issues with this requirement. The idea of a forensic facility in Rutherford County is not a new idea, but the pandemic pushed this from a future plan to an absolute need today. So, to demonstrate how many counties are currently going to the Middle Tennessee facility, 52 seems like a large number. It is. It's over 50% of our state. And to put it into perspective, if all 52 counties were to order an autopsy on the same day, this would be the equivalent of a mass fatality event for that sole Middle Tennessee Regional Forensic Center. We have seen on a regular basis that cases are held over for 1, 2, even up to 4 days on occasions before the forensics exam has been performed, due to this high regular daily caseload that the national facility experiences. I'm sure you can imagine the impact that is happening on our families as they await release of their loved ones' remains, the condition of the remains themselves and associated evidence, the funeral homes needing to arrange final disposition, as well as the investigating agencies urgently needing those preliminary results to move their cases forward or to close their investigations out. By Tennessee statute, forensic autopsies are required to be performed at an accredited regional forensic center, of which there are currently only 5. So therefore, our only other option currently would be to send our cases to Memphis, Knoxville, or Johnson City. Chattanooga is not an option since they only service themselves currently. Logistically, this would be unfeasible both in cost and time to both the medical examiner and our law enforcement agencies, notwithstanding the unacceptable impact this would have to our decedents' families. Regardless, the other RFCs are not able to accommodate us because they are already at capacity themselves. So thus we are beholden currently to the Nashville facility. Our own data access by the managing, is restricted by the managing company's proprietary and commercial case management system. Communication has unfortunately become more limited, not only towards our office, but to our law enforcement investigators as well. I should add that I do not believe this is a reflection of the quality of the personnel at the RFC, many of whom I've had the pleasure and privilege of working with over the years, but it's truly a reflection of how exceptionally busy that facility is. However, this does all negatively impact our investigations, law enforcement's ability to attend examination when notification by the RFC is delayed or even overlooked, as well as negatively impacting law enforcement's investigative efforts. Time management of personnel and planning schedules are affected, as well as the near real-time public health and safety alerts that we need to be able to provide. We truly believe that a regional forensic center would address and alleviate the problems identified, in addition to proving access and timeliness of results. So going forward to the cost of the county, we appreciate one of the Commission's duties is to ensure that all departments and county services are provided in a fiscally responsible manner. This graphic displays what we have been paying for autopsy services from 2017 to present, as well as a projection for 2023. As you will all no doubt anticipate, overall costs have increased in line with population and death number increases, and ultimately autopsy numbers have increased as a result. However, I do believe it's imperative to point out that the county was presented with 2 recent unexpected and significant fee increases by the managing company of the Nashville facility. One became effective in March 22 for an increase of $275 per autopsy, which increased the autopsy fee from $1,825 to $2,100. We then received another increase February 1st, 2023, for an additional $200 per autopsy, which increased the then $2,100 fee to $2,300, which is what we currently pay. Both these increases were advised with only a few months' notice. Both were in the middle of our fiscal years, and both were within 11 months of each other. While increases on the basis of inflation and cost of living can be anticipated, it is not believed that these are the only factors in play. The other RFCs have not followed suit, have not increased their fees to this extent, and it is strongly indicated that our vendors' fee hikes can be attributed to other issues related to more being for a for-profit company with branches in other states. While 2023 projected autopsy numbers have returned, thankfully, to pre-pandemic rates, they are still anticipated to increase in line with the continued population increases. However, due to the two latest fee increases, it is anticipated that we will incur a higher cost for autopsy service this year than we did at even the height of the pandemic. Autopsy costs are anticipated to easily exceed $800,000 in 2023. So we are faced with a real potential opportunity to create a flagship forensic center here in Rutherford County. We have the opportunity to provide valuable community services, not only with those improvements in quality and timeliness in medical legal death investigation, but for partnerships with the largest Tennessee university, which happens to be located here in Rutherford County. MTSU's Forensic Institute for Research and Education has made it very clear that it would jump at the opportunity to collaborate on training, education, and research at a forensics facility based here in Rutherford County. This would not only provide for MTSU students, but other involved agencies' personnel, both on the local levels as well as regional, state, and national. Joint instruction can reach a multitude of disciplines, from forensic anthropology, nursing, criminal justice, public health, to name but a few. We are also hopeful that with the relatively recent agreement between MTSU and Meharry, that an education, training, and experience program can be developed for medical students interested particularly in the field of forensic pathology. Not only would this collaboration impact a recognized gap in training and education, it would provide for a needed pool of candidates with real experience in forensics as they graduate. And there is a dire shortage of trained medical legal death investigators and board-certified forensic pathologists in this country. The Tennessee State Chief Medical Examiner has also voiced her interest in collaborating with and sharing space at a Rutherford County Forensic Center. This would be a benefit to Rutherford County because we would have direct access to the state medical examiner's office, as well as on-site provision of in-service training for both our medical examiner teams and law enforcement personnel. One thing to consider is that both the above would provide not only needed community service benefits, but it could also help Rutherford County to offset ongoing operational costs for running of the RFC. Collaboration with MTSU has the potential for sharing revenue from outside training and events and courses for those regional and national courses, and sharing space with the OSCME, the State Chief Medical Examiner's Office, could involve sharing of utility costs. Other potential cost offsets include sizable federal grants that would be available to the medical examiner's office if we were to partner with institutions of higher education, such as universities and medical schools. So in summary, it is very apparent that Middle Tennessee needs an additional RFC. The only one is currently providing service to over 52 counties, which is 50% of the state. Rutherford County deserves a better option to trust our medical legal autopsy service to. There is a dire need for surge capacity storage and a mass fatality response center for our county in priority, but also for the region. The number of RFCs in Tennessee has remained unchanged for over 20 years, despite the exponential population growth. An additional RFC is needed to appropriately attend to the current need for forensic autopsy service in our county, as well as the region and state. Rutherford County, as well as other Middle Tennessee counties and even West Tennessee counties, need a long-term, sustainable, cost-effective means of providing medical legal autopsy service for our rapidly growing population. Rutherford County EMS, the Medical Examiner's Office, and along with the County Mayor's Office, implores the Public Safety Committee to support this project. There truly exists a dire need for better control of forensic services provided to our county, and we have an opportunity to request and a real potential for receiving state assistance in funding this facility at this time. However, I would stress that time truly is of the essence with this project. Federally provided state stimulus funds are limited and are expected to be expended over the next month. We will not see this level of funding again unless, God forbid, there is another pandemic in our lifetime. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to address the timeline. Ms. Martin, thank you for that presentation. She does an excellent job, ladies and gentlemen. She has been very passionate about this since before my election, a long, long time. And so where we got we got to the place where there was all of a sudden this urgency is, I think I need to own a little bit of that. It was my understanding that the federal funds that were provided here had to be approved by the Tennessee General Assembly. It was an assumption that Knox County made as well, to be quite honest. And so, as you probably know, I went to our delegation, our state senator, and our state representatives and asked them to sponsor a bill. Indeed, Representative Brian Terry, Dr. Brian Terry, and Senator Reeves did just that. They pulled a caption bill on behalf of Rutherford County to solicit funds from the governor's office, but through the legislative process to get that in the budget. And quite honestly, it wasn't until Ms. Martin sent me what's called an FSAG, the Financial Services Accountability Group PowerPoint presentation, and I made a phone call to one of the governor's senior staff that I realized that the General Assembly does not have approval process over this particular federal grant money. It's exclusively administered by the Governor's Lee administration, and so Governor Lee has this, what's called this FSAG group that oversees the distribution of these funds. When we went and spoke to Commissioner Alvarado last Thursday, isn't that right? Last Thursday, they were very, very helpful and very encouraging, even to the point of saying, we understand that the FSAG group is waiting on your presentation. And we honestly went, okay. And so Ms. Martin already had part of this presentation done because she's been working on it, how many months? Since before I became mayor. And so to be honest, she had already done 80% of the lift. And so we have been told by the senior policy advisor with Governor Lee that we have a tentative appointment for a presentation on March 22nd before the governor and his senior staff in this regard. It is based on the approval process for Hamilton County and Knox County. If that's any guide, it's highly possible and indeed probable they will make their decision then and there. And so, and that will be, and then that's the process. And so we were quite encouraged that we received notification from them that they're waiting on our presentation. So I have taken the liberty to go ahead and tell Ms. Martin to go ahead and develop that presentation, but with the understanding that we need to come before you for that approval. Then it's our intention, if we are granted that recommendation, it will go to Health and Ed tomorrow night for a recommendation. Then it has to go to budget. And the reason it has to go to budget, and that's important, is Hamilton County received $10 million in FSAG federal funds money, but they did so with a $3.8 million match. Knox County received $20 million with a $8.7 million match. So while our situation is a little bit different because those are upgrade or expanding facilities and we're creating a new facility, what I'm asking for is the flexibility that we find out, and I'll know more on March 8th because Ms. Martin and I are meeting with Finance Commissioner Jim Bryson. Commissioner Bryson was a colleague of mine at TDEC, as a matter of fact, so we have a relationship there. And so we expect to get some guidance on what, if any, our match is. But once we get to March 22nd, it would be extremely helpful if I knew that the county commission was in support of this before we make the presentation. I don't want to make the presentation, then make the award, and then we go, you know what? We don't think we want to do this, if that makes any sense. So, and Ms. Martin and I will be glad to answer any of your questions tonight.
If I could, it's been more than months, it's been years since we've been working.
It's been months for me, Commissioner. I noted. Yes, it's been a long time.
It has been, and the exciting part about it is for Rutherford County to once again establish something that's quite unique. Even the potential to have the educational part of it is really kind of unique. the other 5.
If I could, Commissioner, because this is you're hitting on something extremely important. This will be the only regional forensic facility with this kind of capability in Tennessee. So it's important that we set ourselves apart to make the justification, but this isn't just a sales pitch. This is a genuine part of the overall justification, that relationship with Meharry and with MTSU.
Do you think that our location, considering how close we are to Davidson County, Nashville, would hurt or help?
I think, given the current situation of there only being one sole Middle Tennessee for such an expanded area, I think that the map kind of demonstrated it all. Is that the other counties, the other regional forensic centers, are dealing and are at capacity with a much lower number of county of services. With the fact that we have this many in the Middle Tennessee area. I think we will complement the services being performed, but give another option to all of those other counties in that region to be able to at some point associate with this particular regional forensic center. So I certainly don't think it hurts us. I think given the location, the access by interstates, and the fact that we have two small airports within Rutherford County. I think even though we're side by side with Davidson County, the access to us is going to give us enough exposure to all of those other counties that are experiencing similar pains that we are.
Yeah, if I could expand on that, it's Commissioner, it's somewhat of a push. Our proximity to Davidson County is understandable from a competitive place, but remember, the lion's share of the state's growth is in Middle Tennessee, and the fact that especially this particular location sits on the 24 I-40 intersection corridor, provides very quick access, especially to those in West Tennessee, to reach this facility in a very, very timely manner. And that was something specifically brought up in our meeting last Thursday about the location. And then, of course, our response was, we understand, but it's about time getting there, not necessarily where it is geographically, if that makes sense. So in our minds, and in the minds of those who've heard the argument, it's a push. Please.
I think the other thing to keep in mind is there's not another county quite like us. And I think that's on many different aspects. Again, having the largest state university here located in our county, but also we are the 5th highest in population, and probably moving up based on the census will probably be at that 4th spot very soon. So we have a different ability, different tools, different resources to hand that these other counties don't have. There is no other county that I'm currently aware of that is even considering being able to add another regional forensic center. So I think servicing this fast-growing populous area, and that the fact that there is only one regional forensic center servicing 53 counties, I really don't think that this is going to be an issue.
I may have missed it. You have a way of talking outside of Southern language, and you have a way of speaking rather rapidly, and I'm a little slower than that, so I may have missed it, but size of this facility is equal to something that's in Davidson County or the other ones, so we wouldn't be a smaller facility, we would be a major.
Yes, the Nashville facility is approximately 20,000 square foot. The National Association of Medical Examiners and the Scientific Working Group for Medical Legal Death Investigators, for a community our size, for a county our size, and the region that we intend to service or ultimately be able to service, 20,000 square foot is what we should be looking at.
And something that, I can't hear what you're saying, but we have one of the other opportunities we have this facility is the state medical examiner. Did you reference that? Okay, so never mind then.
My comment on your accent was intended to be a joke, so you make sure you receive it that way, okay?
Mr. Mayor, I understand this is very premature, and I'm not trying to tack down anything for sure. Estimate of total cost of this project.
Excellent. I'm glad you finally asked. I'm waiting for somebody to ask for the numbers. So the total outlay based on the size for Hamilton County was $13.8 million, with $10 million of that coming from the FSAG grant. And then Knox County was $28.7 million, with $20 million of that coming from the FSAG grant. Ms. Martins, and with some consultation with her, but she's rather adamant in the facility size of 20,000 square feet. So we're looking at probably a total investment of 20 to 21, 22 million. I'm thinking about 21 million with, if the metrics were equally applied between Hamilton County and Knox County, we're looking at about a $6 million match. So 15 million from the state, or excuse me, through the FSAG grant, and 6 million from Rutherford County. Now, mindful, our situation is a little bit different. And to be quite honest, when Ms. Martin and I go speak to Commissioner Bryson, we're going to make the case that the FSAG grant should pick up a bigger share of that, right? But we don't know what that's going to look like till we get to Adam March 8th. In anticipation of March 22nd. So we just got these steps to go. So I'm trying very hard to manage your expectations, both high and low, because that's all we've got, is we've got a range. And so I would love for the FSAG grant to say, you know what, we're going to pick up the whole enchilada. That would be awesome. But we can't anticipate that, so I am anticipating something more like what Hamilton County and Knox County have done, with the hope that we can do a little bit better.
And what's the timeline that, obviously, again, this is a broad scope, timeline you think this facility was open? And I have a follow-up question right after that.
So this would, if we were to do some kind of match, it would go into our 23-24 budget year, obviously. And so then we would break ground immediately, and we're probably looking at an 18 to 24-month construction cycle based on similar size projects. '25, the last half of 2025 probably in service.
And that brings me to my next point. We are seeing a consistent year-over-year increase in autopsy cost. We will probably, by that point, be at $1 million a year.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So at that point, we can continue down the path, and over a 6-year time span, so by 2030, be it over my projections on that increase at 1.2 to 1.4 million.
And again, just as our population grows, so grows the demand for those autopsies.
Right. So if we're spending, at that point, by 2030, 1.4 million a year, the time span between this facility potentially opening and 2030, we've paid for our match. But under this plan, we have something to show for it.
Now, and I want to make sure everything's on the table. So the other part of the agreement is that Rutherford County, like Hamilton County, like Knox County, is responsible for the reoccurring costs associated with staffing the facility. That would be borne by the county. But however, we do have an opportunity to have the state medical examiner in this facility. So obviously, like other county facilities, there'd be the possibility for the county to rent back to the state those facilities that the state uses within this larger campus. Second thing is, and Mr. Martin brought this up, there is a potential for a revenue source by serving other counties that are in this service area at a more equitable price than what they're currently receiving. And also, it's noteworthy that we're talking about taking off a stress load in Davidson County. Again, they're servicing 53 counties. That is a big lift for a single regional forensic facility.
Do we anticipate any issues working with the town of Smyrna? They're a great partner. Are anticipate any issues with them going through permits process?
As this thing was moving along, Commissioner, at a snail's pace, prior to our meeting last week, I spoke to Brian Hercules, the city town manager, and Mayor Mary Esther Reed, and they love the idea of the Regional Forensic Center being located in Smyrna. And if you're familiar with where I'm talking about, it's where the new convenience center is being built, where we have a clerk's facility. I think we got 17, 18 acres there, and there's like 8, 10 acres yet available. So it would be a perfect location for this facility, and they're very supportive of it. As a matter of fact, we're in tentative negotiations to find out financially how they can assist us.
Mr. Chairman, with Nashville's facility using the trucks, because they're backlogged, and you said they're at 20,000 square feet, and we're looking to match that size facility, should we not, in forward thinking, try to look at a slightly larger facility for the upgrowth of, I mean, we're only growing here, and by the time we even get to break ground.
So let me answer that if I could. We don't want to bite off more than we can chew. We want to make sure we service Rutherford County first. We want to be a good partner to those counties that are having challenges like we are in getting serviced out of Davidson County. But we're going to absolutely make sure, Commissioner, that we build this facility so that it has an expandable footprint. We can't project and foresee what the future holds. But again, I don't think it's wise that we invest money in a facility without the certainty of knowing how this facility is going to operate for a little while first. So I think there's a way. Yes, we may end up being short-sighted, but I'd rather be a little short-sighted on the size of the facility than bite off more than we can chew, and then we're struggling to figure out how do we get the facility to operate in a functional way financially. So if we go with a 20,000 square foot facility, obviously we're going to be thinking about expansion opportunities when we go to have that designed and engineered. That would be my recommendation. Quite honestly, I'm trusting Ms. Martin in this. She's the one that came up with these numbers. She has studied this exhaustively.
I understand what you're saying. I just hate the idea of having to come back 5 years to try to do to add on. I mean, so many of our facilities are busting at the seams now, and it just feels like that. But I understand what you're saying.
I think I see what you're talking about there, but I'll have to remind you, this forensic center is nothing new. I can pull out the white pages for when it was presented to Mayor Burgess. More than 4 years. Carl Hudgens wrote the first white pages and gave to Mayor Burgess. So it goes all the way that far back that somebody was thinking of this because saw where we were. And then, yes, for 4 years we've discussed this. I bet every time we sat down to eat and got a cup of coffee or whatever, it's been discussed because of what we got into. And then when we got into the pandemic, it was, oh, why haven't we built this? It wasn't, we need to build this, it's why haven't we built this? Because just as the mayor's mentioned here, I can remember sitting down here in this mayor's office down here some of those nights when we were on the telephone talking to every other county around here that was in the same situation we were, and we were getting these numbers of what the death rate would be within each county. And we were thinking, what are we going to do? And we were just fortunate those numbers didn't come true. But we were in a real situation here in Rutherford County and how we were going to handle those situations. And then as that went on, we continually discussed this, continually talked about this. So this is something that I know is this lady right here and her expertise. And we discussed this many, many times and what we need to do here in Rutherford County, especially as we have facilities like the hospital out here as they go forward and going into Trauma 2 and what we will be experiencing there. This is a facility that we're already late. That's the way I see it. Mayor?
I heard something a long time ago that timing isn't everything. Timing is the only thing. And we dodged a bullet, and we have a great opportunity on the timing piece with regard to the funding. I don't know when this opportunity will present itself again. I really don't. I'm pleased and really gratified that the governor's office is waiting on our presentation.
That being said, I, for one, don't want to hold back on this, especially knowing that time is of the essence on that. So the next step is health and ed tomorrow, and then it goes to budget. So you guys are prepared for your meeting on the 8th and then in turn the 22nd?
Right. So I've asked, Michael, I need you to chime in here for a second, because this, for me, this is a little bit different kind of resolution, and I'm not sure when we want to do a resolution, how we want to word it, because normally I would come to you with a resolution with a finite number for a specific task, like the transfer station. We need $200,000 for designs and engineering for a transfer station. But that's not what this is, because I have yet to make the presentation and I've yet to have a meeting with the finance commissioner. So I don't know. I know, broadly speaking, what we're talking about is total money, which is $21 million plus or minus a couple $100,000. But I don't know what that mix is going to look like until I have those conversations, and indeed until we make the final presentation on March 22nd. So what I'm asking is, quite honestly, quite a bit of latitude to find out what that is, and that's where we're at.
So really, if this body would like to move forward with it, what really the mayor is asking for is an intent to apply. You know how we see a lot of grants all the time, intent to apply, and we don't know what that awarded amount will be, and then that amount will come back. So in this situation, if this body would like to move forward, really they need to pass an intent to apply for this money, and then once it goes through budget, ultimately it'll go through commission, but then the mayor would bring that back to have a vote on what those dollar amounts are, what that match is, you know, whether it's 0 or 40% or whatever. So really that's what we're looking at tonight.
With that, could you also bring back kind of the estimated ongoing costs, since we are taking on the staffing of the facility, just to keep in mind in the budgetary?
Commissioner, I don't think I understand your question about ongoing costs. What ongoing costs are you referring to?
I'm just wondering the operational costs after we get the grant in place, after the facility.
Yeah, we will put together, because one of the things we got to do for budget is we got to, if you guys say yes, we've got to pretty quickly put together a budget of what the operational costs associated with this facility be. So that absolutely would come in when we put together the budget through the EMS. And by the way, we've been asked, well, are we going to create a whole new department? No. We're not going to do that. This is going to function under the existing department under Mr. Gaither currently. Now, we may change our mind in 2 or 3 years, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. We just don't know yet. But currently, we're not going to change the structure of EMS with this. But the answer to your question is yes.
But not a single dollar will be, again, it's an intent to apply, but not a dollar will be spent until it circles back to us after your meeting with the governor's office, correct?
Say that one more time.
We are giving you the intent to apply, but not a dollar will flow until it comes back to this committee.
No, yeah, we can't spend any money, but I want to make this very clear. I do not want to make a presentation before the governor of Tennessee unless it's the clear understanding of this body and the full commission that we want to move forward with this project, given the parameters I've outlined.
Which is why you're going through 3 committees, correct?
Yes. Well, that and other things, yeah.
Let me clarify something to your question. No money can ever be spent without an accompanying budget amendment. Yeah. So just in the future. So at that time, once it comes back, it will be accompanied by a budget amendment plus a budget of operating cost will be accompanying that once it comes back through these 3 committees again.
Motion should be intent to apply and forward to health and ed and to budget.
That is correct.
So moved.
Second.
Gentlemen, we can't do that till I bring this back in session.
And I said the motion should be. Look here, if I could, I would.
You're
Mr.
sticking
Chairman,
for rules.
I will say, as someone who's in healthcare in a hospital setting, I do feel like this is the appropriate thing to do because we always want to be prepared for the future. because it's not a matter of if, but it's when something. And so I feel like this is something that we should definitely look into. Public safety, at the end of the day, is the number one thing that we should be concerned with in the county. So,
Mr. Chairman, if I may, one more thing.
Yes.
So in East Palestine, Ohio, they just had a tragic chemical railway accident. We have a CSX line that travels through Laverne, Smyrna, Murfreesboro, through Christiana, on toward the southeast. You never know. And it's incumbent on us to hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. That's all this is. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And that was one of the items they have discussed on the news. They were not prepared for that up there. Sure not. All right, I'm bringing this back into session before everybody gets in such a hurry. So we're back in session, gentlemen.
Well, on that note, I'd like to move that we proceed this inquiry on up the chain and pass it up to Health and Ed to continue its course.
Okay.
Second.
Motion. Have the second. Any further discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Oliver?
Aye.
Commissioner Rather?
Yes.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner McMurray?
yes.
Commissioner Beverly? Chairman Reed?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Anything else, Mayor? Other business?
Chairman Reed, hopefully we can do this very quickly. We voted on a resolution for the workhouse board to be accredited, or yeah, whatever it was. If I remember correctly, we voted to send that to the full commission. So I think the only way, I mean, it's already been voted on. However, there is an appropriate way called a motion to reconsider a prior motion, but it has to be in the same meeting. That's why I'm bringing it up now. I want to make the motion, and that motion has to be voted on, motion to reconsider, that resolution go to steering. That board was appointed or recommended to the full commission, you know, the applications and all that. And I just don't want to get sideways with anyone and skip a committee. If I make the motion to reconsider, somebody's got a second, we got to agree on it, and then we can make another motion, send it to steering first. So I want to make that motion to reconsider that motion for that reason.
Well, you made the motion. Do you have a second in here to do that?
Second.
We have a second. Open for discussion.
Please clarify again the reason.
Okay. The work center board, that whole board applied, went through steering. We let them talk. We voted on them. We recommended to the commission that group. And it's kind of staggered, so it may have 2 vacancies and at a time, but it goes through steering. So the very board that I know the commission approved it, however, I just think because that whole board really originated, or things went through that committee first, steering, that it goes back there for approval to send it on to the commission. We kind of got a little warm water recently because, you know, we didn't go through the committee process. So just that board alone, specifically coming through steering, I just think it needs to go back through steering, just for affirmation.
This is just for a name change. You think steering needs to approve the name change and not public safety? Because that was what the resolution was, just to change the name of the board. So that's what you're talking about?
This body voted to approve this resolution and send it to full commission. I'm saying we approve this, however, send it to steering and then to the commission. So that's the motion to reconsider. If nobody wants to reconsider that, we get on walkout and it stays the way it is.
It feels like on this one. Second. I see what you're saying, but it feels like on this one be equivalent to on the forensic center, we're sending it to health and ed, and then they'd send it back to us so we can send it budget, so they can send it back to us so we can send it to full commission, so we can finally get it done. It feels just redundancy upon redundancy. I mean, I could be wrong in oversimplifying, but it feels like it's just excessive.
And it was, Mr. Chairman, it was my understanding the last commission meeting, we addressed it coming directly to the floor. It has gone through a committee. Now, granted, I kind of see Commissioner Oliver's point. We're talking about a name change, but I think you're speaking more on principle here and the process more than the bearing of what's action is being taken, correct? Yielding to some wisdom here, steering meets next week. I would not want to delay Superintendent Cope's plans, but steering meets next week if it's able to get on that agenda. Forgive me my ignorance on that portion.
It'd still get on the agenda, I think it would. But I'm going to let the decision be with y'all, and I'm going to call for your vote. Roll call vote.
Commissioner Beverly?
Nay.
Commissioner McMurray?
Yes.
Commissioner Sherino? Commissioner James?
No.
Commissioner Rather?
Yes.
Commissioner Oliver?
Nay.
Chairman Reed?
I'm going to say yes and send it on so we can keep somebody happy. So we'll move on. Any other discussion?
If I could just add a comment on the Forensic Center.
Yes, sir.
It's an exciting thing that our budgets over the next few years are going to be extremely difficult. But this has the potential to be somewhere similar to what our public safety buildings are that would cost the county a small amount as it relates to the benefit that the county may get long-term for that. But the timeline, if I'm not mistaken, Mayor, would be tonight, public safety, yes, health and ed tomorrow night, budget on the 9th, and then commission on the 16th, and then you would make your presentation to the governor. We're talking about a 3.5 week accelerated process.
The only part of that process that, and I'm glad you brought that up, and if I may, Mr. Chairman, this is important, and I will reach out to Chairman McAdoo. It would be my strong preference that this go to, I just had a brain freeze. I'm sorry? Thank you. Another long day, ladies and gentlemen. Property and management, and because this deals with construction of a Rutherford County facility, I'm going to speak to Chairman McAdoo about that. The fact is the next property management meeting isn't until after the end of March, 1st of April, which falls outside that timeline. I understand how very important the committee process is to the county commission. I too believe strongly in the committee process as long as it doesn't create redundancy. Having said that, he still has, and his committee still has some oversight here that needs to be respected. So I'll be reaching out to Chairman McAdoo in that regard so that at least as the chair, he can facilitate those questions that are relevant to that committee at the appropriate time.
We skipped something I thought we were going to move kind of forward. My motion was just a motion to reconsider. And we all agreed to reconsider. So now we got to go back to the original motion of let's approve this and send it to steering instead of the commission.
All right, so do we have a motion to do so?
So moved.
Do we have a second? Motion fails without a second. We send it as we approved originally. Other business? If not, the meeting's adjourned.